When I was thinking of player comps for Cam Ward, at first I thought he was this hybrid of Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson. But now when I think about Cam Ward, I see a lot of Tony Romo in his game. And Tony Romo was really underappreciated during his prime with the Dallas Cowboys. Prime Tony Romo clears prime Dak Prescott. At least prime Tony Romo showed up in the playoffs and was able to win in the postseason for Dallas, unlike Dak Prescott. And when you remember Tony Romo and how he played, he was really creative when it came to buying time for guys to get open. He would bounce off defensive linemen. He wasn't super athletic, but he was nimble and incredibly elusive for his size. He would just wiggle around guys. And Cam Ward has that similar ability. You know, he's not the fastest. Some people say he's rumored to run like a 4.7, 4.8, but although he's not a credible athlete, he's athletic enough where, you know, he can evade defensive linemen, he can get away from edge rushers, and he can also pick up some yards on the ground if need be. And the velocity that Cam Ward throws the football with is similarly to how Tony Romo threw the football. Tony Romo didn't have a great arm, but he did have a really good arm. He threw a really damn good spiral as well. He can make all the throws. He had a lot of zip. He threw with tons of power. And Cam Ward, although he does have like a little bit of an unorthodox throwing motion, you know, he has the ability to make every throw. He can drop passes into tight windows, especially downfield with his deep ball. And the backyard football that Cam Ward gets criticized for, Tony Romo made a career out of it. Tony Romo was incredibly reckless. He threw a lot of interceptions. Ball security was a huge problem, but he prioritized playmaking over ball security. And that sometimes is what made Tony Romo great. And that sometimes is what got Tony Romo in trouble. And ultimately, that reckless playing style is what took years off of Tony Romo's career and led him to what I felt was a little bit of an early retirement. Cam Ward has that similar never say die attitude. He just isn't somebody that is going to take the sack and let the play die when nothing's there. He's going to do everything that he can in order to keep that play alive and get something out of it. That hurt him in the end when Miami lost to Georgia Tech, but it helped Miami when they had that come from behind win against Virginia Tech. He had a play when he was about to get sacked, and then he tosses the ball with both hands, and the receiver just somehow happened to be like 3-4 yards in the proximity to take that pass and get something out of it. And it was a play that ultimately resulted in helping Miami win that game. So with the mentality that Tony Romo had, when he was trying to extend plays, kind of, you know, being loosey-goosey with the ball, is the same way that Cam Ward likes to run around and play football with. But overall, Tony Romo had a really good career, a career that is underappreciated because people define his career off a few bad moments that he had in the playoffs. And some of those moments, you know, he was justified to get hate for, but he also had a lot of good moments that I remember when I first got into football, Tony Romo winning in the playoffs, having good playoff games. You know, if that Dez Bryant catch would have gone in a different direction, who knows? Maybe the Cowboys end up getting to their first conference championship since the 90s. But I do remember Tony Romo playing at his best, but a lot of folks I talked to seem to not remember how good Tony Romo was. And if you can get Tony Romo out of a guy like Cam Ward, which is probably like a top 8 quarterback in the league, you can definitely win a Super Bowl with that. Tony Romo didn't get teams that were as good as what Dak Prescott has had during the majority of his career in Dallas. He never really had a good offensive line. The receivers were always good, but the defenses weren't that good. Like, not until like his final couple of years of his career, that's when Dallas finally got it together. But that by that point, it was already over because the injuries were piling up, and Dak Prescott took over and you were able to get him for cheap and less, and he was younger. So Cam Ward, I expect him to have a great career, his poise, the playmaking ability. He's a 5-year starter. Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, they also are quarterbacks that started 5 years. When you get somebody that has learned 3 different offenses, he's played on 3 different levels, gotten better at every single one of them. I just think that he has all the characteristics that make him at least a 10-year starter in the league. Even if he isn't an elite quarterback, at least he can be a top 15 quarterback at worst. That's his floor to me.